Hello everyone, it's your girl Miss Angie, and we are back into the series of I didn't put God first in my relationships. So as you know, we kind of talked about in the last video pretty much my middle school relationship, and now we're going to talk about my high school relationship. And basically this is all a part of the young love portion of relationship. And so let's go ahead and get right into it. If you have not caught up on the previous videos, please go back and watch. I'm dropping some gems, just sharing some really important information when it comes to relationships and me not prioritizing or putting God first in those relationships. So I really feel like people are really going to enjoy this series. But getting back to me, of course, right? So we're going into high school relationship. My last relationship with JW kind of fizzled out, and now I'm going into the high school portion of my relationship. Let me start here. Once again, high school, I went to two different high schools. I went to a a JROTC school, and then I also went to Advanced Technology Academy school. And so those two schools were definitely different. And I would say my level of like where I was at, as far as I was just in that middle lane of like, I had people that I talked to, a few friends, nowhere near popular, but I still had people I can conversate with. I was kind of like that middle lane in high school, pretty much. When it came to relationships, still just kind of testing, I'm trying to just see, because it's high school, it's a little bit different. So kind of just trying to see where I'm at. But this one particular relationship lasted for majority of my high school year. I would definitely say going into my 10th, 11th, and it got kind of foggy towards 12th grade. But pretty much, let's get into the story. So, I met this guy named HC. HC was someone who was very different in a lot of ways. And it was crazy because he was actually 1 year younger than me. But he definitely carried himself as if he was older, pretty much. I guess 1 year younger really doesn't make a difference when you're in high school. So, it wasn't much of a difference for me. The funny part is that how me and HC met was, well, it was funny. We were on the bus on the way to the mall. Now, I'm getting close to my 40s. For my people who know, the mall was the place. The mall was the place back in the day as far as hanging out, going to the movies. The mall was just that spot. Everybody on the weekend would get on the bus and go out to the mall and enjoy themselves and meet and greet, pretty much. It was a meet and greet, everybody trying to see who out there, everybody getting dressed for the mall and whatever. So me and my best friend, and it was two of her friends, matter of fact, I think it was my best friend's friend who was there with us too. Anyways, we all were on the bus, and I ended up coming across HC. He had kind of like basically motioned me and my friends to sit in the back, and sat with him and exchanged numbers. When we all left the mall, matter of fact, this was actually coming home from the mall. We caught the bus. That's what it was. Okay, so coming home from the mall, we caught the bus. I ran into HC. So, yep, I'm sorry, y'all, because we were at the mall all the time. But it was coming home, and we ended up catching the bus to my best friend's house. That's how it happened. Moral of the story, exchange numbers, and then here it goes from there. Me and HC talked, text all the time usually, and it was just that high school relationship or whatnot. Come to find out, I knew that a lot of people knew him, and he was on the level of the popular end, I shall say. I probably wasn't that girl that was technically his type, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, he was the guy who played football. He was the guy who had a lot of friends. He was the guy who danced. He was the guy who was always at the parties, having fun, a true goofball, silly, all of that. So, long story short, that was the person who I did lose my virginity to at 16. And I just want to be honest with that for anybody, you know, just so that people understand this was the situation. And I share this experience, you know, with people and young ones so that they know. Now, that wasn't the best decision, but I was one of them young girls, naive, thought I was in love and all of that, just being honest. But I figured in my head, yep, we'll probably be married. We together. He's so cute. He's on the football team. He's doing X, Y, and Z. So, okay, lost my virginity thinking that we would be together for a while. And that was the honest truth. Just being real in that moment. So, pretty much, as the relationship progressed, it was starting to get a little sketchy. It was getting to the point where sometimes phone calls wasn't being returned. It was a time that we all were downtown for this like concert thing, this real big summer. It was kind of like a summer jams thing. He was downtown, act like he did not notice me, act like he did not know who I was. It was just a whole 360. What was interesting was I came across this paper with names on it, and it had like stars and it had different little coding, and I didn't know exactly what that was. This was getting probably closer to like 11th going into 12th grade. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew what was really happening. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just one of these girls on the list. Now, do I feel like at the end of the day, he might have genuinely, like, a genuine relationship between me and him? He probably looked at me more so as a friend. I would say that. And he probably didn't really take it serious as a relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend type thing. I do believe that that was probably this. I mean, he probably had a lot of friends. I even know people who have told me he was very flirtatious and very jokey. I mean, he was that type of person, very silly. And I'm sure, and I already know it was a lot of girls that like him. I did go to his football games. I probably been to like 1 or 2 of his football games or whatnot. So, you know, I get it. I get it. But going back to that, it was stuff like that. Not returning phone calls, acting like you don't know who I am, stuff like that. And so, long story short, we ended up, you know, like towards the end, he came to my graduation. We went to prom together, things like that. And there was just moments. There was small moments in there. We took our driver's training test together, our classes both passed. My dad let us use his truck for the test and stuff like that. He was basically on the weekends, we were always together. Me, my best friend, his friends. He always had different groups of people. We would all hang out on the weekends, whether we were going to parties or whatever the case may be. That's just what it was. Or chilling at people's homes and stuff like that. That was pretty much my high school year. Like, majority of that relationship with me and him. After, like I said, in between 11th and 12th grade, it just was kind of just up and down. So that was pretty much it. After 12th grade, going into college, there was really no more much of communication except maybe like running into each other, or he may run into my best friend and say, what's up, and all of that. But that was pretty much it. Now, going back to, was this a relationship that was ordained by God? Absolutely not. I feel that losing my virginity in that relationship was not of me, but more of him. And I love him. We're probably going to get married. And that's just what it was. That's just what it was. I was in that relationship with the thought of, by me letting go of my virginity, me and him would probably be together and married. And I I just looked at the fact of like, he's a cute guy, he's on the football team. These type of guys don't never notice me. This might be a chance. It was just the aesthetic, the look. Of course, we weren't using those words back then, but you know, it was just the whole look. Look at me with him and all of that. And it wasn't like a cocky thing, but it was like, I never thought I would be with someone on that type of level in high school, pretty much. Now, of course, in 12th grade, by me and him being off and on, I have people that I have talked to, dealt with, and stuff like that. Because, of course, once I found out that he was kind of like on his type of time and I was more one of the girls on the list, I felt it was like, okay, I see where this is going. But as far as serious relationships, he was the most serious. This was like the serious relationship. So I decided to talk more about this versus like the little in and out people during high school, pretty much. But no, this relationship was not ordained by God. I really felt bad that I had did that and we weren't together and I was beating up myself. I was so mad. I'm like, oh my goodness. I lost my virginity to him, and I was thinking that we were both like each other's first and wasn't. It was just a whole thing. And I really beat up myself like bad. I felt bad, like dang, like I knew that I was trying to live my life right. I knew that trying to uphold that Christian background. And once that situation happened between me and him, I'm like, well, we're going to get married and everything is going to be okay. No, that's not how it worked. And it was crazy, even during the time that me and him were friends, because we had stayed cordial, like I said, during like 12th grade, kind of like an off and on type thing. It was just crazy because I remember leaving from his house. I was driving home from his house and this girl pulled up on me out of nowhere. Pulled up on me in her car. This is why staying out of toxic situations or knowing who you dealing with, because the girl pulled up honking and I roll out my window and she like, are you talking to HC blah blah blah? And I'm like, no. I'm like, that's my friend. That is nothing that's going on, because at the time we were just cool, you know, like I said, once I knew where my place was on the list, I'm sure a baby girl who pulled up on me was on the list as well. She just ain't know it. But getting back to that, I was like, this is crazy. I knew it was like, it's time for me to go. Because clearly these girls are claiming themselves out loud now, you know, and it's like, no, we're not together. That probably would have hurt me more had we been together. And it was just crazy because I was just like, you know, I felt like I put a lot into that relationship. Once again, young love. So look, no judgment over here. These type of things happen, honey. I just was like, dang, like definitely beat up myself. I was definitely sad about it. I was definitely hurt because the level of the relationship had went further. So now I'm like, okay, you know, I see what's going on here. And it was just a lesson learned. It was just a lesson learned. But this relationship, I never prayed on it. I never asked God for guidance. I just saw, okay, he a football player. He looked cute. You know, I could tell that there was that level of people just gravitating to him. He was always that person who was goofy, laughing, that scene. Like, he just was that person. And it was like, girl, leave it alone, because don't further that. Just leave it alone. You see what it is, and that's it. So anyways, this is basically the conclusion to the young love portion. Out of the two people that I have dated, just once again showing that God was not at all active in any of these relationships, but once again giving yourself grace, because I was young, you know, I'm learning, I'm trying to find love, at the same time trying to be a Christian. And this is just, you know, my story. And I just hope that it helps other young girls, other young men out here to understand to add God into your relationships. So the next portion will be getting into my 20s, those relationships. And that's when it starts to get really like, okay, like what's happening? These people crazy, or am I crazy? Because I'm staying. Like it was a lot. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.